This is the I Love Success podcast. I'm Peter Jabrukowski, and I have made a vow to myself to help as many people as possible to achieve their dreams. Let's get started. Hey guys, and welcome back to the I Love Success podcast. First of all, thank you so much for being here with us. What started as just a guy wanting to have a conversation with cool people has now become, I wouldn't say a movement yet, but on the way of becoming a movement. I've done almost 300 episodes. I've been able to sit face to face, eye to eye with people from all over the world, all walks of lives. We're talking about entrepreneurs. We're talking about real estate champions. We're talking about UFC champions, Olympians, New York Times bestselling authors, TED speakers, and just amazing human beings. And I think what separates these people are that they are not the status quo. They're willing to go that extra mile to achieve their dream, achieve their goal. I was once a small little chubby kid with the dream of becoming Bruce Lee. I did not become Bruce Lee, but I did become a world medalist in karate. And I did that with the help of my father, who was my sensei, and a lot of coaches. And what I've learned in the martial arts have helped me so much in all areas of my life. And I realized that one thing that we have as martial artists and athletes in particular is the drive to give back and to help others, because we have had that ourselves. I know myself that we talk about self-made all the time, but it's usually not self-made. It's usually a lot of people, a lot of dedication to help you. And I'm just so grateful for all those people in my life. And if you're listening to this show, if you have a big dream, a big goal, and you don't know where to start, or you've come some way, but you need a little bit more inspiration, a little bit more ideas on how you can go after it and what you can do, then you're definitely in the right place. My big fat mission, which I have right in front of me here on my vision board, says help at least 10 million people in 10 years to go after their dreams. And I'm super excited today to introduce this week's guest. I've seen him speak a couple of times. We're both in real estate, and we're in the Tom Ferry network. And the first time I saw this guy speak, I just related to him because he was like a martial artist, very disciplined. It looked great. He was like sharp, and you could just tell that everything he said was something that he had worked very hard on. And I love to meet those people. And I just decided last week, let me just reach out to Phil, because I wanted to speak with him for a long time. So without further ado, we have a real estate star here today. He's been an entrepreneur since he's been 17. He lives in Maryland, and just an overall very cool guy. And I'm very, very excited to dig in to talk about super mindset and just going after your dreams. So without further ado, Phil Gerdes, welcome to the I Love Success podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm insanely happy to be here, and I'm super excited. First off, you talked about like all the people that you've interviewed. Now I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on here with Olympians, and holy smokes. So now this is going to be great. I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And you're definitely in good company. And I want to share, I think there's a lot to learn from all walks of life. And I do believe in every city, in every village, there are champions out there that are going that extra mile. And I think you're definitely one of those people. So before we kind of dig into, the mindset and how you think, let's go back. Like, who are you as a kid? Where did you grow up? And how did you become this like disciplined superhuman?
How? I'm not sure. Here, what I can tell you is this. I was born in New York, in Long Island. But at a young age, I moved to Maryland. I grew up in Maryland, and I moved back to New York after school, did a couple years in New York, and then I moved back to Maryland and Florida, and then back to Maryland. So I spent the majority of my life here in Maryland. But as a kid, you could say I was disciplined. You could say I was a bit of a cool geek. I was in fifth grade, I took a briefcase to school instead of a backpack. Like I was that kid, but I also hung out with all the cool kids. So, everybody, I remember when I was a kid, everybody wanted to be a rapper. So everyone had their cool rap names. Mine was the businessman, like there was like, you guys rap, I'll be the agent. Right. So, I've always been that person. I've always had that mentality, that mindset. And, I've had jobs, traditional jobs, but, as an adult, I've worked 1 year in a traditional work environment. Outside of that, it's always been kill what you eat, I own it or something of that nature. So I think that, my childhood built me to be this person. And then this person that I am now, I'm always seeking growth. And I think it just helps me continuously get better and better and better. So
yeah, that's awesome. And let's go back. And what was your dreams when you were a kid? Was it to become a manager, or was it something else? Did you do any sports? Like what did you dream about as a kid? What excited you?
So I played sports, football, baseball, basketball, track. But I wanted to be a spy. And kids say that all the time. Like that was my mission. I had my success path lined up. I knew exactly what I was going to do. So I wanted to start with going to the Army. So I went to go to the Army, and a lot of people don't know, but I'm 100% deaf in my right ear. So wow. I went, and
when did that happen?
As a kid, very young. Yeah. So I'd say 4 or 5 years old is the last time I could hear anything in my ear, and then it's gone.
Most of your life. Yeah.
So I went to the Army, and they said, well, I mean, you can work behind a desk. We'll take you. You can work behind a desk, but that was it. And that wasn't my path. So while I don't know that anyone really realized how serious I was about that, like that has always been my dream. When I realized that was never going to happen, it was okay. Like, what's next? Where am I going? How am I going to get there? And there was a lot of soul searching and figuring things out. So,
and when did you realize that it's not going to happen? Because I think all of us as kids, we dream about something, and at some point, like some are amazing and they do get to that thing that they dreamt about as a small kid. But for a lot of others like us, it changes during the way. Like when did that realization come, and like how did you manage that?
I was about 18 years old when I realized, look, there is no real path for me to do this because of my hearing. And like I said, it was just a lot of soul searching, a lot of figuring out what's next. And I can't say I did a good job at figuring out what was next. Because I spent a lot of very, very hard years not figuring it out. And that's really the thing. I didn't spend a lot of hard years figuring it out. I spent a lot of hard years just drifting, completely lost. And, some things happened to me in my life, and it just sparked change, and everything shifted. So,
yeah, I mean, thanks for sharing that. And I think a lot of people are just drifting because we don't have the right guidance. And I mean, some people are lucky. I had the martial arts, which was a good guidance, but I know there's so many people that have the opportunity to go after what they want, but there's no real guidance. So that hurts me. And that's why I'm doing this. So I love that you're onto something here. Can you just share, like, how did that drifting look like? And like, was that painful, or did the weeks just turn into years?
I mean, I think it started with weeks turning into years, right? Like that was first. There was definitely a period of time where it was very clear that I wasn't really doing anything. I was just here, right? And I wasn't here and present. I was just here. And that, when you start realizing that you are actually, people talk about wasting time. I was wasting a life. I was wasting all the other points of potential that I had because I was so stuck on, well, I thought that was what I was going to do. It's funny. I've never actually had this conversation with anyone. So
I love this. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing. That's what we're trying to do here, being
yeah,
totally vulnerable with the guy you never met.
definitely. Definitely.
But it will
Um,
help people for sure.
it
So
will
thank you.
definitely. So I came to the realization that I was wasting a life,
Yeah.
and a shift had to happen. And I have to be honest with you, I didn't create the shift. I literally saw a TV show,
Yeah.
and I watched this guy do something, and I said, man, if he can do that, I can do it. He doesn't seem much smarter than me. Like there's nothing here. There's no secret. It's literally, he's showing everything step by step. And my goodness, I just made a commitment and I said, look, I'm going to change everything. And it's funny. I'll tell you this. I'm 21 and a half years old. I know this because this conversation happened on New Year's Eve and I was born in June. So I know, that halfway mark. So I'm 21 and a half years old. I call my cousin and I say, hey, look, I've had enough. Like I can't live this way anymore. I'm done. I give up. And he thinks I'm going to commit suicide. But that's not it. Like I said, I need a change. So I said, he said, well, how are you going to change your life? I said, well, I don't know how I'm going to change my life, but this is what I'm going to do. I said, for this year, I'm only going to do things for other people. Now, I want you to know, like, I didn't have an intention of making money. I didn't have any intention. I just knew that I was not living a life of service. So who do I become a year from now if I just commit 100% of myself to service in the craziest way and in the smallest way? And I got to tell you, man, you couldn't have told me my life would have changed the way it changed. A year and a half later, I was a millionaire. I was just very, very successful. I owned real estate. It was a whole different world. It took a year and a half, right, for me to really focus on that single item. But I found that during that time, it was just reflection after reflection after reflection on all the previous years. And it was an amazing thing. It changed how I looked at life. It changed how I looked at work. It changed how I look at work ethic. It was different. It shifted everything.
Wow. Yeah. So let's just break that down. Like what happened during that year, and how does that start for people? Like, yeah, everybody's talking about service to others, but how does that look like in real life?
Yeah. So it's small and big. It's normal and crazy, right? So I'm in the grocery store and I see you and you're not smiling. And I stop in front of you and I smile big and I say, hey, how's your day going? And that's it. And you say good. And I say, hey, that's great. Enjoy your day. And I keep going. It's small, right? Look, I'm busy in the grocery store. I just left work. I got to go home. I'm just picking something up. But goodness, do you know what the 10 seconds can do for the person that needs those 10 seconds? And it's just about being aware of more than what you see. Be aware of everything. Be aware of where your gift can be given. But it's also, we all do this. We're driving down the highway and we see the car on the side of the road and they're changing a tire. Oh, but I'm going too fast to stop. So that's how we justify it. Well, for me, it was, I'm going too fast to stop. So I'm going to keep driving straight. I'm going to get off on the exit. I'm going to double back. I'm going to come back. And now I'm going to change that tire for them. Right. It was that. It was literally crazy. I remember one time, true story. I got home. I was coming home from work. It was after 2 a.m. And there's no reason. It was a residential neighborhood. There was no reason for this at all. But there was a lady with a flat tire in front of my house. I'm dead tired, exhausted. She's changing her tire. I said, you go sit in the car. I got this. Right. And I feel like I was consistently given opportunities to prove that I would honor what I said. Right. Like, hey, look, if you want greatness, then you better be willing to do what it takes to be great. And it's more than the hard work. It's the acts of service. So,
yeah, I love that. And I have a friend of mine that turned into a client. Every year she chooses a word for the year. And I kind of like that idea. And so this year I've chosen leave it better. So that's what I'm trying to do now. And it's interesting because it's so easy as people that are listening to this, a lot of you might be goal oriented, and I am too. So sometimes I'm so focused on going to the next thing that I forget to see the person. But it's a great reminder. No, wait a minute, leave it better. It's not about me accomplishing that next thing on my list. It's actually to be human.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's crazy how it shifts everything.
You know, I'll say this. And when my team watches this, they'll awaken to this.
Yeah.
I say to my team all the time, everyone has their thing. So usually I'll have a conversation and my day will get busy and I'll have a bunch of conversations. And then I'm usually left at the office and there's one or two people there. And I will randomly say, hey, so-and-so, just remember everybody's got their thing. And I think they think I'm telling them it's exhausting. I'm dealing with a lot of people's emotions and thoughts and issues, and I'm a fireman putting out fires. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be aware, because what you think and what the space you're in, just remember everyone's got their thing. So be aware. And I have always found, this is yet to fail me, I do not care what I'm going through. If I can serve somebody else, the thing I'm going through just happens to get a little bit better. I don't know why or how, but if I can just give it away, man, this has been for as long as I can remember, my entire life, the success I've had has been built on this idea. If you serve first, man, just everything works. So
yeah. I love that. And we see that in the world, the people that, I mean, we're studying Napoleon Hill again now. And one of the things that he says, like, the person who serves the most amount of people is the most successful.
Yeah.
And it's true. So what happens after this year and a half? Like, what happens in your life? How does that shift you as a human, and what comes after that?
So after that time, I got into real estate. I worked for, first, my mother owned a mortgage company. I worked for her. And then I moved to Florida with my wife, and I opened my own mortgage company. And I did that, and it went very, very well. And then the market crashed, and everything, for us kept moving after the market crashed. It went really well. And then all of a sudden it didn't. And it took some time. It took about a year and a half or so from the point where things really hit rock bottom for us to just hit a point of, wow, like everything's just officially turned off. From that point, I had learned a lot. I learned a lot about business. I learned a lot about brick and mortar. I learned a lot about working with people. But one of the things, and I didn't mention this, when I was about 17 years old, I just really took to human psychology. I really loved the idea of understanding people and why particular people did particular things. Like, what drove you to make that decision? And for me, I don't know what it was, but I've been fortunate to always find interest in that. So here I am, 40 years old, and I still study this every day. When I'm working out in the morning, I'm on YouTube and I'm watching something related to human psychology almost every single day. So I had learned a lot. I had learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about myself. And I learned a lot about what makes it work. I learned that all the skill in the world will always be beat by the person that's willing to work harder. So how hard am I willing to work? Because like you talked about martial arts, look, you could be great at a particular kick, but if you don't work on it, right? If you don't practice it, if you don't put the time and the energy in, at some point, the person that is doing that is going to level you up. So how do you put in the effort even when it hurts? How do you put in the drive even when it's hard? How do you stay committed even when you don't want to? And most importantly, how do you honor what you said even when no one's pushing you to honor it any longer?
So, I mean, this is awesome. I'm getting goosebumps here, and we're going to debunk all of that. But let's just go back to that moment, like when things crashed, and you said it took about a year and a half until it went kind of dead. In your mind, I'm curious, because I think as humans, we know when it's dead, but we keep going for a while because we don't want to face the reality. Can you just let's go heart to heart? Like, when did you realize that, and how hard was that realization to move on to the next thing? Because I know myself in my life, I hang on
Yeah.
when I know I should not hang on, and I'm getting better with that. But I mean, I'm just curious, see what you did and how you learned from that.
So that was some time ago. And I will say for me, I knew everything was falling, right? And I knew that I didn't have the coaching or the mentoring in that field to help navigate me through it.
Yeah.
I felt very grateful because my business was still rolling. And that had a lot to do with brand and marketing, right? But my business was still rolling. But for me, it was literally a light switch. It was one day my phone was ringing. The next day it never rang again. I mean, just like that. I remember it saying, wow, like we didn't get one phone call today. Well, that was odd. I'm sure it's no big deal. The next day, nope, we didn't get one. It never rang again. So I want to say, hey, yeah, you know, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was coming that Thursday or that Tuesday or that one. You know what I mean? So, but I think to your point, if you fast forward, I left that field and I was okay. You know, I left that field and I was fine. I don't know that I let that field define me. Yeah. Right. But I moved into direct sales, and I was in direct sales for 10 years. And it's funny, I was having this conversation yesterday with one of my top agents. I moved into direct sales. I was in direct sales for 10 years. I was in the top in the world. I was one of the top in the world. And 9 years in, I've been with one company for 9 years, just dominating, speaking, training, just really doing well. And I will tell you what, I remember the evening that I resigned from that company. I was sitting in my bedroom. I did a conference call for my team and other members in the company. And I had a good sized team at over 13,000 people. And when I hung up the phone, I was like, wow, like I prepared for the call. I knew why I was resigning, but I didn't know who I was anymore. That I let define me. I let that company become everything that I was. And I remember just sitting in that room, just lost. I mean, that's the reality of it. I was completely lost. Now, I did go to a different company. I knew I was planning on going to a different company if something happened, but it wasn't the same. It's just 9 years of my life was everything I did was a piece of that. And when I left it, I want to say a piece of me was left behind. No, listen, a piece of me got to move forward. Most of me was left behind. So it was tough. It was very, very hard.
That's interesting. And yeah, I did a podcast a couple of days ago when I talked about how long do we stay in failure mode. And one of the conversations that I had was performance and self-worth. And for a long time in my life, I know as an athlete, like if I were winning, I felt good about myself. Yep. If I were losing, I felt like shit. And one or the other don't have anything to do with each other. We're already worthy. Why is it like, and was that the case for you too? And like, how did you get past that?
You know, I think that I lost. I don't know that it was like I'm losing. So I don't believe in myself. I just lost. Who am I supposed to be? It's almost like, you know, it's not that you're being fake for people. It's just that you're being everything for people. So then you're not being anything for yourself anymore. And that's what had happened to me for 9 years. Everything I was for other people, was tied to this business, was tied to that. So when that wasn't a part of me anymore, it was like just a massive part of my skin was shed. And the problem was I didn't know what was underneath it. So I moved to a different company, and I made some real decisions there, and it helped me when I transitioned into real estate. I moved to a different company for 1 year, again, one of the top in the world. And then I sold that business. And when I sold that business, I said to my wife, I said, listen, this is what's best for us. I know there's a lot of people that are not going to be happy about what we're doing. I know there's a lot of people that are going to question what we're doing, but in the end, this is what's best for us. We've put in a decade of our lives to this industry, to this craft, and we're ready to go. And you know what? I'm comfortable with that now because I did it differently. I did it on different terms. I did it I did it with, I was empowered, right? I was empowered to go be the person I wanted to truly be. So after that, I took a year off, and then my wife said, get out, go do something. So, and she actually said, look, let's become real estate agents. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. You do it, I'll do it. And then we stepped into that field. But I'm going to say this, the caveat was, and we have family meetings for everything we do. It's, what are we doing? What's the sacrifices for me, her, our 2 kids? Is everyone on board? Okay, go. If everyone's not on board, here's why. Can I get you on board? No, we're not doing it. Right. So we had a meeting, and my biggest thing was, I am going to be unapologetically me. Right. I curse sometimes. I'm in a hoodie sometimes. I'm in a suit sometimes. I'm just me, and I love me, and I'm happy with that. And I know who I am and the drive that I have, and I'm going to go dominate, but I'm doing it on my terms, and no one's going to define me for me ever again. And it just changed the way I ran business, and it changed who I was inside. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's powerful. And when you get to that stage in your life, when you're so comfortable, I talk a lot about this. And what I've seen is that most of us are 2 people. Or maybe many people, but once you can become the same person who you are on the inside in the world and say, I don't give a fuck, this is who I am, and I'm going to enjoy it. It's such a freeing feeling.
Man, it is. I agree.
So what else in your backpack with rocks, what else was there that you had to unpack in order to get to this, stage in your life?
I'm very, very pragmatic, hyper logical. So I don't carry much on me. And when I make a decision, that's it. A lot of people love accountability, and I'm the person that just says, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't need to be accountable to you or you or you or you. I'm accountable to me. I am the guy that gives himself his word, and it's going to happen. I remember my first meeting in real estate. I literally, in my brokerage, I walked in, I said, we should all be doing X, Y, Z. And it was about success. Like, I wasn't telling them how to do it. I was saying, we should all be working to get to $50 million a year sales and blah, blah, blah. And we can take vacations together and it'd be fun. And they laughed at me. And like openly laughed at me. And I said, okay, that's fine. And then I went on to be the rookie of the year for the entire company, not just my office, but the entire company in the whole country. And it never had been done. 45 years in business, never, ever done in my region before. And then, I said, okay, well, this year I'm going to do this. Bam, we hit that goal. The next year, bam, we hit that goal. And every year we're hitting the goals we're setting, and we're doing the things we're saying. And so for me, it's not really about what rocks am I letting go of? It's like, how hard am I willing to work? How committed am I willing to be? And what will I say? And be freaking careful, because what will I say means what will I do? Because I promise you, Will Smith said it, and I love it. He said, you might be faster than me, you might be stronger than me, but if we get on a treadmill, you will never beat me on a treadmill, because either you will get off or I will die. Yeah. And that's it. And I'll tell you, there's so many examples of this. Israel Adesanya, I think is his name, right? Yep. The MMA fighter. I saw this clip of him and he said something like, you can't beat me. And going into the last round, you can't beat me. I'm prepared to die. I coach sports. I've coached sports for 17 years. I was playing my 7th grade basketball team two games ago. I said, guys, I need you to understand. Right now we're losing. And the only way we come back is if somebody is willing to die on this court right now. I'm talking to 13-year-olds, okay? I said, the only way we come back is if someone is willing to die on this court. And I said, you need to understand, I'm telling you, you leave every piece of yourself on this court, no matter what. If you feel like that's your last breath to get down court and make that layup, then you got to be willing to take it. I said, tell me who's willing to do this, because that's who I'm putting back in this game. And every single hand went up, and we won. Like they put the fire in them, so that's me. That's everything. Like, I am willing to die for the things I'm committed to. So.
I'm getting goosebumps because this is what we call Bushido, the way of the warrior in Japanese.
Love it.
And
Love.
one of the virtues of a bushi, a warrior, is when it's said, it's like it's already done. And I
Yes.
think we're lacking that in today's world because there's so much, like, accountability sometimes pisses me off. I know a lot of people likes it and they need it. But listen, if you need somebody else to tell you what to do, how to live a good life, I mean, it's awesome. But at the end of the day, like, you're going to get into the ring and nobody's going to be there with you.
Yeah.
That's just how life is. So promises are unnecessary. And I get pissed off because I sometimes even hear people that I love saying the same fucking promises. And I know it's not going to happen, not because I don't love them. I just know you've said this before.
Yeah.
But how did you get, like, how did this happen to you? How did you realize that this was the truth for you? And how did you embody that?
A hard question. I think I've really always been that person. Like, deep down inside, I've always been like, I got really good grades in school.
Yeah.
I think I was just always the person that realized if I do the thing, I'll have the thing, right? If I do the work, I'll have the success. And most people won't do the work. Now, I wasn't always the person that would do the work, but I was always the person that knew, like, hey, Phil, if you just do it. Like, I remember in sports, I say to myself now, like, man, I'm a lot better at sports today than I was as a kid. And that's weird. I'm 40. I shouldn't be, but I understand it differently. Right. And I asked myself, like, why didn't anyone teach me, Phil, if you are just willing to put all of yourself into this, look where you'll be. I don't think there's enough people teaching that. And so I don't know what it was, honestly. I don't know that point in my life where I truly figured out hustle for me is my best friend. Execution for me is my best friend. But man, like, as long as I can remember, that's been my life, right? Just out hustle everyone, outwork everyone, no matter what. I do not care who you are. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to die. It's one of the two. So,
yeah, I mean, that's a person you don't want to get into the ring with, for sure. So Phil, I'm curious about this. When it comes to, that drive and, being so, like, it's already decided. So for me, when I set goals, I wrote a book about goal settings. I've been interviewing a lot of people, learning about success, and it's crazy. Almost when I set a goal, for some reason it happens. And one thing that I've noticed what happened to me in the past year, I set some goals that was crazy big for me, and I didn't have a clue on how to reach it. But somehow it still happened because the decision was made and I went into action. So can you relate to that? And, like, or do you always have, like, a real action plan to achieve the things that you set yourself up to?
Yeah. So first, no, I never have a real action plan, ever. And I know people are like, well, that's crazy. You should have a business plan. Yeah, you should. But what am I planning if I don't know where I'm landing? Right. So the first thing I do is think about, where am I going to land? And I don't need permission for it. I don't need someone to say, yeah, you're good enough. I don't need someone to say that's possible. I don't need someone to say that's not possible. I just need to know, yes, this is what I want. The next thing I reverse into is, why do I want it? Like, not how am I going to get it? Why do I want it? If I can find a real reason why I want something, there will never come a time I'm not getting it. Like, that's it, because I run for that why like it's my life. And I don't mean that whole cliche, what's your why? I want a new car. That's not it for me. Like, if that works for somebody else, great, more power. It doesn't work for me. What works for me is I want it because, and I'm almost always tied to something I'm running from. Like, I find that I run a lot further when I'm being chased than when I'm chasing. I run a lot harder when I'm being chased than when I'm chasing. So what do I want? What's chasing me to get it? Right. And then ultimately, all right, what path do I take? That's when I start planning. but I think that a lot of people, man, they just, yeah, that's a big goal. No, I don't think it's possible. Let me tone it down. Why? Why? Just do a little bit more. Sleep 30 minutes less. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Commit 30 minutes more energy. Stop listening to music. I remember a point in my life where my friends would make fun of me because they would be talking about music and I had no idea who they were talking. It would be the equivalent of somebody saying, yeah, did you hear the new Michael Jackson song? And I'm like, who the hell is Michael Jackson? Like, it was that bad, right? Never Michael Jackson, but it was that crazy. But it was always because when I got in my car, there was a book on, right? I remember I would go to meetings and I kid you not, I'm like, in my mind, back in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, dude, I cannot wait to finish this meeting so I can go listen to my book in the car. And I'm sure you've done it. You've pulled up to your house, you're listening to something awesome, 30 minutes goes by, you're still in your car in front of your house, listening to that amazing thing. And it's just, man, like, it's, what do I want? Yeah. What's driving me to do it? Then I'll figure out how it's going to happen. So.
You're a student, and I love that. And there's a story with the old martial artist, very a master. So a student comes to him and say, "Oh, you're the master, you're the best," and he's just smiling, and he says it again, "You're the master, you're the best." He's just smiling. It's like, and they ask, "Why are you smiling?" "Because you calling me the master, I'm learning from all of you guys all the time." Yeah. And that's how I become better. Yeah. And we see that. I mean, the best people, like, they always try to learn, and they're open to things, they're open to new ideas, and they're not stuck in the old. Yeah. One thing that I'm curious about, when I had Tom Billy on the podcast, he talked about, people here that are listening, let's face it, if you're listening to this show and you want to have a different life, you have to change some type of belief. And one thing that Tom was talking about, and I've been thinking about this, I'm curious on your opinion. He said, in order for a belief to work, you cannot question it. And I think this is interesting because looking at the people that are successful around me, they always start, following a path that somebody else at least paved a little bit. And then, of course, they're going to start later on. And then I see that people in the office or don't have the success that they want, they always question everything and say that it doesn't work without even actually trying it. Like, what's your opinion about that? And like, how have you changed some of your beliefs in your life?
Working back to front, I mean, I think my beliefs in my life always ebb and flow, right? I think that not my belief in myself, not my belief in God, but my belief in a lot of different things. And basically, I'm willing to accept that things are changing, and I'm willing to be water, my friend.
Yeah.
Right. There you go. So, but with that, think about it, man. Like, in order for it to be a belief, like, if you're doubting it, it's not really a belief. Like, only person here that's confused is you. You're lying to yourself. You're saying, I believe this, but I have doubt. No, you don't. What you are is you're interested. You're interested in something. And that's different than a belief. If you do something, it's done. If you try something, you can fail. So why are you trying? Why are you saying I believe it, but you're not really sure? You don't actually believe it. For me, when I commit to a goal, when I commit to a mission, a process, or whatever it is, I know it is done like I know my name. There is no doubt in what my name is. There is no doubt that I'm breathing air. There is no doubt that I'm talking to you on a Zoom. There is no doubt. The same way, there's no doubt that the things that I set forth to accomplish are going to happen. So I couldn't agree more with Tom. I completely agree with him.
But what about fear? Like, I
don't have any.
You don't?
Man, wow. Somebody's looking at me and they're gonna comment below, bullshit. I am telling you, I can't. No, I can. I'll tell you the last time I was scared of something. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in a mall. I was a kid, 15 years old. I was gonna get in a fight. Yeah. This guy I was getting in a fight with. He was with a bunch of people. We never fought, but he left the mall. I was leaving the mall. and they pull up in a car, and I'm in the vestibule just before being outside, just before being in the mall. I'm in the vestibule. The guy runs out with his hand in his pocket and pulls out his hand like this. And for me, he did it so fast, I thought he had a gun. So I went like this.
Yeah.
He ran back to his car and drove off. This is the last time I've ever been scared of anything, because in that moment as a kid, I realized if I would have stood tall, he could have shot me. If I would have bent over, he could have shot me. So what the hell was I scared of? What was the point? Either way, if he really had a gun, he could have shot me. So what was the actual point of cowering? There is absolutely nothing. The only thing that you are ever scared of is your imagination. You're not scared of something that already happened. You're scared of what you think may happen. So change what you think may happen. Change your decisions about what you think may happen. I will honestly say, people will not believe it, I'm sure. That was the very last time I ever felt fear in my entire life, ever.
That's incredible. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the worry. Do you worry at all?
Yeah, I'm human.
So how do you deal with that when you worry? Because that's also the imagination, playing with our minds.
So for me, and this is why worry and fear are different. Like fear is something that, in my opinion, like we're scared and then we're fearful and then we do nothing. Yeah. If I'm worried about something, the first move I make is like, why am I worried about this? Okay, let's find the connection. Let's find the fix. Let's find, like, how do you satisfy this? And maybe I can't find the fix. Maybe like in that moment, there's not a fix, but how do I bring comfort to the situation? Because like a lot of things, if I'm worried about them, maybe that's my subconscious telling me I shouldn't be doing them. Right. So maybe I need to listen differently. So there's a lot of different things that I do when I feel the sense of worry. Maybe I just need a hug from my wife, man, or my kids. Like, it depends.
Awesome. And what do you do when you don't get the results that you want? How do you adapt? To give an example, in my life, when I've made a decision, if I don't get the result that I want, I increase the input or learn and do something better until I reach what I want. Like, how do you deal with that?
I think I'm probably very much like you. I think when I don't get what I want, I certainly don't quit. Like, if I don't get what I want, I think I'm just like you in that sense. I think I just increase the input, just as you said it. Like, how do I learn more? How do I become better? How do I surround myself with people that will teach me more and help me be better? And then let's go back at it. Like, so I am critiquing, what did I do? I want to tweak the plan. Like, what was that thing to make it work? But I do also want to say this. I said, well, I'm not going to quit, right? That doesn't mean I keep doing it. Sometimes when I don't achieve something, it means there's a reason I don't achieve something. And there is a difference between, in my opinion, there's a difference between quitting and actually realizing that was the wrong direction to take. That was the wrong direction to go. Because if you realize it's the wrong direction, likely you're just going to take another path. You're not quitting. You're just realizing it's time to take another path. So,
yeah. I mean, I've had that problem in my life sometimes, because I'm so set on what I want to accomplish that I miss that there's actually a better path. And I'm getting better now with age. And I think people that are listening to, if you can relate to this, you're probably a go-getter, which is awesome. But you got to open your eyes, because I made the mistake that many times I keep doing the same shit that doesn't work. And you do get some result just because you're crazy, but it doesn't mean that it's the best way.
Yeah, you're completely right. I think, and I think you nailed it. It's something, excuse me. I think it's something for me that has grown with age. I remember as I was younger, it was just complete tunnel vision. And now when I set my mind to something, yes, I can take tunnel vision, but I see everything around me to know if I need to hop into a different tunnel still, so it's an age thing. Yeah.
We're getting wiser. And so Phil, let's say me and you can jump on a plane now and invite 4 people to spend a weekend with, to learn and, ask any question we want, dead or alive. With who are we bringing?
Man, that's a good question. Geez Louise. This is gonna sound crazy, but I don't really care to bring anyone but Jesus.
Yeah.
That's it. Look, I realize that I can learn a lot from a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Every part of me is rooted in who I am.
Yeah.
So for me, that's like, this is the only person I'd care to say, let's take you, Jesus, you can pick any of the 4 seats, brother.
Yeah.
They're all yours. And that's it for me. I can't honestly think of another person. I'd love to say, look, this celebrity, this great mind, this thinker, but I feel like I'd get everything from the one.
So basically, like, getting to know oneself, I think that's something that we're all struggling with. Like, what has happened in your life, and do you have any tools on how to, really get to know oneself?
Yeah, except like, stop lying to yourself. I think it sounds, man, I really sound old. Like, social media allows us, I sound so terribly old.
You're wise. Wise is the word.
Social media really allows us to put up this fake side of who we are. I'm not the person telling you should put your whole life on social media. Be honest with the negative in this. No, don't put the negative on social media. Don't bring me down. Instead, keep putting the positive up, but just understand that it is okay that you have negative. Like, if you want to find yourself and you want to be okay with who you are, be okay with the fact that things are not okay. I used to tell people all the time, like, the best part of being lost is that now you can be found. That's an amazing place to be. Now, what if you appreciated the idea that you are lost? It doesn't have to be scary. It can truly be beautiful. 8th grade, one of my best friends said to me, and by the way, he's never said anything this enlightening ever again in his life that I know of, but I was really upset about something. And he said, Phil, man, you're so upset. Let me ask you something. Are you still going to be mad next week? I was like, well, no, I'm not. He said, well, then why are you mad now? Like, dude, all right, gut check, yeah. Right? Like, it's like, there's so many parts of who we are that we need to get okay with. And that starts for me with the mirror, right? Look in the mirror and say, yeah, that's me. I'm cool with that. And look, if you're not cool with that, change it. I am so, this might be a little controversial, but I am so over the idea that everything should be okay and fair. Yeah. It shouldn't. If I outwork you, you shouldn't also win. That's not fair, right? If you're not happy with something, you shouldn't just say, well, that's okay. No, you should go out and make it happy. Go be the best you possible, because that's what's going to really make you happy. Just accepting less isn't really happiness. Being your best, to me, that creates happiness. And also, I tell people often, look, if someone's an 80% person, let them be. Stop trying to get 100% from an 80% person. If I'm a 65%er and I'm happy giving you 100% of my 65%, then praise me for that commitment. Stop forcing me to look, or stop bringing me down because I'm not a 95%er. That's not fair. Right. So I think if you want to find yourself, if you want to be great with yourself, if you want to find the inner peace that everyone seems to be looking for, and if you want to stop being scared or whatever the case is, look in the mirror, say, this is what I love. This is what I'm not too happy with. I'm going to excel in what I love, and I'm going to work on what I'm not too happy with. And no matter what anyone says, this is my path, and I'm going to stay on it until I'm happy with where I've landed.
Love that. I have 2 more questions, Phil, and then I'll let you get to your family. And no, it's late out there. So what's your, like, I study success, and my goal is to redefine the concept of success because it's different for everyone, right? What does success look like for you?
Well, that question has changed a lot in my life because I really always used to think it was money, which is really crazy because I have almost no motivation for money. It's the weirdest thing. It doesn't drive me at all. And it really never has been a driver for me. But I always thought that you're successful when you have a ton of money. I think for me, and obviously it's different for everyone, but I think for me, success is 9 o'clock at night, sitting down in my living room. And instead of my 10-year-old daughter and my 13-year-old son hiding in their rooms, they want to come sit in the living room with me and their mom and watch TV. Like, their choice is to be present with us. And here's the reason that really makes sense to me, because it's more than their choice is to be present with us. It's their choice is to be present. They love who they are and love who we are. They feel better when we're together. I've provided them with a beautiful space to call home that they feel safe and comfortable with. I've given them work ethic that allows us to not have to work nights and doubles and things like that. So now I transfer the hard work I've put in into my kids, and like, it becomes so much more. But in the end, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Like, man, let's all be together. And because I got, like, nothing matters to me more than my wife and my kids. There's just nothing else for me more than that. So
Family, you know.
yeah.
Final question. I had such a great time. I think we can
Me
talk
too.
forever. So thank you so much for doing this. And I want the people that are here with us, you know, that have dedicated an hour of their life to listen to us, to take some action in their lives. So what would you advise them? What would be the first thing they should do right after this show?
Oh, yeah. So I'll give you a couple of things in no particular order. Okay. Yeah. One, identify what you love. Really identify that thing you love, that thing you can be passionate about, that thing you think, maybe you don't know it right now, but you think you'd be willing to die for. Like, this is my me. And then get a book about that thing and listen to it. Don't read it, listen to it and take notes. Let it sink in. Hear it the way they want you to hear it, not the way you're reading it, right? That's why I'm saying don't read it. I'm saying listen to it. So listen to that book. The next thing I would say is find a mentor in the field. You would be shocked how many people are willing to give you their gift. And don't be discouraged because that mentor lives in a different country, because the reality is social media connects us all and you don't ever have to talk. I've got so many mentors today, they have no idea they are my mentors, right? Like, if you call Will Smith and say, Will Smith, you know Phil Gerdes, right? Absolutely not. He's never heard of me in his life, but man, he's one of my mentors.
Oh my God, he's amazing. Right? I'm just about to finish his book now. I don't know if you already.
That's my next one. That's my next.
You're gonna love it. It's incredible.
I can't wait. Yeah. So find a mentor and then look, press go. Stop getting ready to get ready. Here's a little tip from me to you. You're never gonna be ready. Just stop, just go, activate, execute. Be the person that when you learn something, you execute it. And don't be scared to fail at it, because failure is in the process. I am telling you now, you're gonna fail. Now you know, don't be discouraged by it. Just say, yup, Phil reminded me, he warned me, he told me. Don't let it slow you down. Say, Phil told me. Say, this is part of the process. Look, someone's going to tell you you can't, and I'm going to tell you you can, but I am not right and they are not right. And I am not wrong and they are not wrong. You are. You decide the answer. Are you going to get it done or are you not? Because ultimately what I think of you or what they think of you does not matter one bit. The only thing that matters is what you think of you and what you're willing to put into your dream, your goal, your desire, your hustle, your everything.
Boom, mic drop. Phil, this has been amazing. I had a feeling that our conversation would be incredible. You are just remarkable human being, and what people don't know, and you shared a little bit about your story, but I also want, if you're listening to this, just know that this guy has been into action for 20 plus years. And this is a culmination of what he's learned on the journey. So take notes. This is something that these types of advice that you can get that for free nowadays. Isn't that crazy? Like you can just go to the gym, put this in your fucking headphones and you can have some good ideas. that's the world we live in today. And yet you're looking at cats on YouTube. So
Exactly.
so come on, guys. So yeah, Phil, if people want to connect with you and learn more about you, possibly working with you, where should they reach out?
All social media platforms, it's at Phil Gerdes. It's PhilGerdes. Whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, any of them. I do my absolute best on Instagram to respond to all messages that I receive. And for the person that's saying, hey, I really want to send him a message, yeah, send it. Like, don't be scared, send it. I will do my absolute best to respond to you. Instagram is the best platform for you to do that. If there's a desire to work with me, by all means, shoot me a message on any platform and I'll get back with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's here with us listening. There's thunder roaring, which is super rare for LA. That's awesome. Cozy. I'm here with my little fireplace here. So thank you guys so much for listening to us, enjoying the show. As I told you in the beginning, I want to help a lot of people, and I can't do that without the help of you. So if you enjoy this show, give us a review, share it with somebody that needs to hear this message. And that's it. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much, Phil, and thank you to all.
Thank you.